Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports, with me, Coach Ryan D. Leafs fans, I saw the reaction after Game 6. I watched the Dangle video. We're going to go through both. I'm going to give you some advice to get through life, and we're going to talk about a bandwagon fan versus a real fan. There's no jokes in this video. This is legitimate analysis, breakdown, and my feelings on a plate from some of the reactions that I'm seeing. Do I understand that you're pissed that you've lost to Montreal? Yes. Do I understand you're frustrated with 55 years of losing? Yes. Do I understand why you are so fired up and upset? Yes. Do I agree that you are going to quit watching the NHL forever and never watch hockey and life is unfair and the team is haunted? No. Stick with us till the end of the video. I'm going to give you something to be fired up about. I'm going to give you something to think about. And if you don't like it, you may just be on a bandwagon and not a diehard fan. And don't forget, I was a Bombers fan from a city that lost their NHL team for 20 years. I have some expertise on this subject. Roll the intro.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux.
So they say you don't know what you've lost till it's gone. Okay, you've lost some sports games. All right, you've lost some first rounds. Okay, Boston's had your number. Tampa's had your number. The East is hard. Sure, man. Whatever. There are plenty of sports teams in the annals of history that have gone through these difficult periods. It is not just a haunting or a conspiracy theory against the Leafs. Whatever you want to call it. The Chicago Cubs went over 100 years. The Cleveland Browns have been the walking joke of an NFL organization for, well, a long time. And sorry, Cleveland fans, you got to win one to change it. The Detroit Lions went an actual winless season, had more first-round picks than anyone can shake a stick at, and they're really not doing anything. How about the Edmonton Oilers? 4 first-round picks. 4. And they haven't done anything in 20 years with that, and they have the next Gretzky. Nobody built around them. Where am I coming at this video from? Well, we're going to take a look at Steve Dangle's reaction and the heartbreak for Leafs fans, and you're allowed to have heartbreak. But I'm sorry, you're not allowed to quit, walk away, and say, this is it, I'm done. I mean, it's freedom. You can do whatever you want. But if you truly love the game of hockey and you've been a diehard Leafs fan your whole life, you know what? There will literally always be next year, and you still have Game 7 to go, baby. There's still a game to go. And that doesn't mean you're automatically going to lose to the Jets in the next round because you had a bad round here. That's not the way sports works. It is just as likely that you can sweep the Jets in 4 games in round 2 if you win Game 7 as it is that the Jets sweep you in round 2. This is why we play the game. We watch the game and play the game so we can have these emotional highs and lows so that when the emotional highs hit, they are the greatest feeling on the world. See the Cubs fans and the Bomber fans when they finally actually won a championship. There is an indicator out there in sports that takes the amount of sports teams in a league, the mathematical prediction that they should have won the league over the fact that there are so many sports teams, and rolls out a difficulty factor. The Chicago Cubs were the #1 team in the world before they broke their streak. You know who was 2? The Winnipeg freaking Blue Bombers, because they went 25 freaking years without a Grey Cup in an 8-team league. Think about that. 8 teams, 25 years. That's worse than 55 with 31 teams. We have been talking about Stanley Cups since this channel started. The Stanley Cups that matter, you're allowed to hang the banner. You're allowed to call them legit, but they're the ones since the WHA expansion. Chicago has 3, Pittsburgh has 3, LA has 2. Guess what? The Stanley Cup is hard. It's the hardest trophy to win in sports, period. It's physical. The rules change. It's not the same game. It's just freaking hard, period. End of story. Ask the San Jose Sharks that had a 12-year window and never closed it. Ask the Nashville Predators that had to hang a joke of a banner because they've had such a long window and never been able to close it. Ask Ovi why it took 12 years with stacked Capital teams and the fact that, frankly, not the best Capitals team in history ended up winning it. Because it's tough. It takes a long period of time to learn, and it takes veteran presence, and it's going to take guys like Marner and Matthews time to figure out. Why did the Jets end up beating the Oilers in 4? They have guys that have done this for 5 years. It has been 5 years of Jets playoff entries, challenges, losses, and a trip to the conference finals. It takes time. The Oilers haven't done that yet. Matthews and Marner haven't done that yet. It's just the way it goes. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at that Steve Dangle video. Let's have a quick reaction to it.
Here you go. You're getting it. Here's me losing my mind about the Toronto Maple Leafs. What up, They lost to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for them. Let's play all the hits.
So this is a general reaction to the fact that the media beats up the Leafs and people make fun of the Leafs outside of Leafs Nation. Well, guess what, Leafs fans? When you are the team with the most amount of coverage in the Toronto Sports Network, I know it's called the Total Sports Network, but we feed the trolls. It is the Toronto Sports Network. They focus on the Leafs. They draw the most amount of attention because they have the most amount of fans. The Leafs have the largest diehard fan base in hockey, and that is why you get the rest of hockey, which is like 78% of fans, because you have almost 22% of the fan base as a Leafs fan. You get the rest of the league on you about every little thing that happens because you have no less than 15 to 30 YouTubers like Steve, maybe not as big as Steve. You have no less than 5 or 6 sports channels in Canada as well as the United States covering the Leafs. And everything is the Leafs bubble. This is what makes playing in Toronto so hard for players and attracting free agents to Toronto so hard. You do great, you're way, way too overpraised. You do bad, you're way, way too lambasted. Go ahead and take a look at Matthews and Marner's Instagram comments right now. It's embarrassing and it's gross. Yikes. So you can't really complain when you have the largest fan base with the most amount of money and the most amount of media attention, because I come from, frankly, a fan base that has no money, no media attention, not the darlings of anybody. And we never live in a bubble because NHL Radio, the Toronto Sports Network, Sportsnet, you go ahead and name it. ESPN just want to talk about the teams we're playing against and not the actual team, regardless for how good we do. So when I say you don't understand what you have till it's gone, you don't. And again, I'm going to say this again, losing a hockey game is not as bad as losing an entire franchise. I guarantee you very few people in the city of Toronto, the GTA or Leafs fans batted an eyelash when the Winnipeg Jets were taken away, because I see endless comments saying, well, you lost your team to the desert for 20 years. Try selling a building. Ha 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 ha, a bunch of losers. No one's going to have any feelings of feeling bad for a franchise that will literally never lose their team. The Hockey Hall of Fame is in Toronto for a reason. It's just a game. We'll be at the game 7. And whether you win or lose, there's going to be a ton of Leafs fans and great Leafs hockey to come. So buckle up. Let's keep going.
From Thomas Drance, very apt. He covers the Canucks, very apt. This Leafs team is such a contradiction. Imperious and deep, yet lacking killer instinct. A top-heavy team with an invisible top end. A classic front runner, but paradoxically at their best when trailing.
Okay, so where does this come from? It comes from the media outside of Toronto, the very few little snippets that you ended up getting, because I get to see it as a Winnipeg fan, telling you all season that this team is deep and talented, but they are unsure of its mental toughness and ability to be put together to win a cup. I've said it since the beginning of time. Jack Campbell is an okay goalie. Everybody in Leafs Nation has told me he's the greatest goalie since sliced bread, and we're going to talk about him. Is that really the case? I don't know if the media bubble outside of Toronto is giving you the actual breakdown of what's really going on, but there was one. It was right.
What needs to change?
What needs to change? Probably nothing, to be honest. Don't panic. This is a very deep team with another couple years in it. I wouldn't change anything. So what, you lost this one? You'll be here next year, and you still haven't even lost it yet. Sometimes teams go to 7. Ask the Boston Bruins.
Toronto Maple Leafs are haunted. Legitimately haunted. The Canadiens are the first team in NHL history to surrender multi-goal third period leads in consecutive games while facing an elimination and win each game. They're haunted.
They're not haunted. Enough. Games get won and games get lost. I really like Dangle. I'm not dunking on Dangle. Dangle's one of the best YouTube creators and one of the best fans in the NHL, period. He speaks for a lot of people, and I understand why. This man is fantastic. So I'm not dunking on any of you when I say this, but they're not haunted. This is just a game. Sometimes you put teams together that win, sometimes you put teams together that lose. And when you look at stuff like this is the first time in history this has ever happened, well, everything in history has to happen for the first time at some point. It just happened to be you this time. And again, the series is not over. What happens if you beat Montreal here and end up winning the cup? Still a possibility.
It's amazing. You watch this game. Every Everything about this game, everything watching sports, your whole life has taught you about this game, told you the Leafs were going to win it. Jack Campbell was spectacular in the first period, especially the first 10 minutes. Spectacular. Spectacular. Maybe the best period of his entire NHL career. Genuine.
Okay, let's break that down. Everything about watching this game told you the Leafs were going to win. This is why we play the game, folks. This is why we play the game. You play the game because any bounce and any shot on literally any given Sunday, as they used to say in football, and I guess any Saturday night in hockey, can go any way. It only took 2 shots and it went in. Campbell was spectacular. Campbell let in the second shot of the overtime. Campbell can't score goals. I get what we're going with here. The Leafs were unable to put it together because you had a goalie performance in one half with no superstars showing up and no scoring. It's all supposed to come together, but that's sports. This is what makes sports amazing. And think about it this way. You know what? I'm going to save it till the end. Let's keep going. I have a good thought for you, but let's save it to the end.
The process. I don't care about the process. And I tell you what, I don't trust the process. I don't. What is the point of the process if you don't win?
Again, we've said this before. It's a hard league. You're allowed to be emotional like this. I totally get it. I get it, Leafs fans, why you would be this emotional. Again, not dunking on Steve. But the process is supposed to be there because it's very hard to win. There are too many teams to name that have made it and built fantastic teams, just like the Leafs, to never, ever win a Stanley Cup. It happens. It's part of sports. If anything, the thing that makes it the most unfair is that Toronto has to face a salary cap where taxes just slaughter them. But then again, how unfair can that be? Because teams like the Jets and the Canucks and the Oilers that have smaller markets face similar cap constraints without the ability to attract people to lucrative contracts and advertisement deals inside the biggest city in the country. Life ain't fair.
Process is there so you win.
So the process is there for you win? No, the process is there to give you the best chance to win. And right now you have the best chance to win. That's all that can happen. No one can foresee the future. If they did, we'd all just look at moneypuck.com and play NHL franchise mode.
And I said, I cannot do LFRs next year if they blow Game 7. I cannot do it. And he goes, don't let the Leafs cost you money. This is what you do. Buddy, I can do lots of things. I can do all kinds of things. Look at what the hockey guy does. I can preview games. I can talk about the night that was. And I'll open myself up to more viewers. I'm holding myself back right now. And look at me. Look at me. I don't care what I'm getting paid. I'm miserable.
I don't have to be Steve to know why he does it. He does it because he's a diehard Leafs fan and because he's the voice of 10 million diehard Leafs fans. Call people bandwagon, shirt-tucking corporate fans a lot. Yeah, they do exist, but they're probably not watching this channel and they're probably not watching Dangle, to be honest. The diehard Leafs fans are good, true fans. And if you're going to go ahead and hang it up and quit and walk away now, that's just not the way sports works. Because what is going to happen when you actually win that championship? Go ahead and look at the Chicago Cubs and the crying and the parades and everything. I hate to say it, and it's not meant to be religious for any means, but you can't have heaven without hell, and you cannot have success without suffering. It doesn't exist. This idea of perpetual euphoria gets old because we will move the goalposts of stress. You will. Go ahead and look at Boston fans when they're watching the Patriots. The Patriots have been to the Super Bowl how many freaking times under Tom Brady? And the only thing that happens is things get burnt down the one year they don't make the Super Bowl. The goalpost just gets moved. The stress just gets moved. Doesn't matter whether you haven't won it in a year, 2 years, you're always going to be a diehard fan. So I hope this was a bit. I know Steve was actually passionately upset. I hope Leafs fans all watch Game 7 and the ratings don't actually go down. I hope Leafs fans stick with their team and you are allowed to be emotional and pissed. Let me know down below in the comments. What you are going to do is take it out on the, I don't know, childlike general manager that you have running the team. I mean, this is why Lou Lamoriello was there in the first place, and you take it over by an advanced stats kid who is doing either a very, very good job because this is a very good hockey team or not. It's been an interesting experiment. It was an interesting experiment in Toronto. I like the idea that Sheldon Keefe's there. I don't know if I like the idea that Dubas is there. I think he got walked on with some of his deals. I think it's going to hurt in the long run. But right now, he put the right team together based on available resources within the league to win. I don't know what else he could have got you guys this year. So stick with it. Let's watch Game 7. Go Leafs, go Habs, go Jets. But take it from me, if you're stressed out today, you don't know what you have till you lost it, and you're never going to lose your team. It's the greatest game in the world. It's a privilege to be able to watch it. Back up your fellow teams when crappy things like relocation come up. Don't say, nah, well, guess you should have a bigger city. And we'll end up backing you up when tough things like this happen. Because at the end of the day, we've all been through losses. Every one of us. This has been Coach Randy.